Alright everyone, Lego is back again. It's been a while since I did something simpler, so I had to take some time away from my big project that's still going on the way and just look at something a bit more simpler. Simply, maybe maybe something like a pistol. You can see I took a picture of my wall over there with a couple of pistols hanging about, and I took one of the bigger ones, traced a very rough outline of the body of the pistol, and I'm using that as a framing device for the letters that I'm putting inside now. Um, this project took less than 3 hours, so it's going to be a bit fast. I'll try to keep along here. The idea here is to first off see what language I could fit inside. My first thought was Sherman's, but I need lines for this. I need a lot of lines, and so Sherman's, the thing I wanted to spell out couldn't work with Sherman's. There was not enough lines to work with, so I took to one of the other systems with, frankly, a lot of lines, and that is Darkifaerie. I don't know how you pronounce that in English, but in Scandinavian it's a little bit different. You can see the alphabet there on the right. It's a very free form, free flowing script with not a lot of interaction. Every letter is sort of made on its own, but you can't mistake the letter for anything else as long as you craft it adequately. And in this case, that's to my advantage because I can just make a letter and then I can spin it about and adjust the thicknesses and everything like that, because every letter is unique on its own. So long as the composition stays the same, I can do whatever I want with the letter, frankly, and it'll still be recognizable. And most importantly, for this project, there's a lot of lines to work with. So if you're seeing an old project of mine, you'll know that this is not my first flintlock pistol trace that I'm doing. The concept is the same, actually. I'm going to take the letters and I'm going to weave the two of them together so that the words become the pistol and the pistol becomes the words. The last time I did this project, in a similar vein, I sort of outlined the pistol around the words. It was embedded inside the pistol, the text. This time I want to sort of weave them together into one so that you don't know where one begins and one ends. Now this is a concept I have in my head, so I don't know if it's going to work out, but you can see the beginnings of the proof of concept, if you will, of me taking a line from the letter and then extending it outwards and making it a part of the silhouette that I'm very roughly scribing about out there beforehand. So I made a rough tracing, so I had a sort of look about how I wanted to go about it. And now I'm just trying to manipulate the individual letters, their orientation and their size, to see if I can make something that looks approximately natural when you extend the lines and make them flow around the text. And frankly, there's too many lines for me to work every single line into the outline, but I'm trying to take some prominent letters and some ideal positions into account, and choosing the best line for the job. So that's what you're seeing here. I'm just trying to see what can I line up with what and how can I bring about this thing that I need to have in the area. And for the first 30 minutes to an hour, which is about the mark we're approaching now, about 3/4 in, I started to lose faith a bit because this did not at all look good. It did not look the way I envisioned. It did not look like the amazing picture that I had in my head of the concept. And it really looked, I mean, it just looked bland and just like a bad sketch, really. Um, but I moved on and powered through because it's not the first time I've made something that looked ugly, and sometimes you just need to let it sit for a while and try and tweak some things and maybe even maybe even transform the work into something else along the way. Um, so I let it be. Started from the other end here, made the barrel from a single line, and I wanted this to be very clean. Like there's a lot of details I could add in terms of the different decorations on the pistol. Most pistols have a lot of decorative craftsmanship, and this is no exception. But I did not want anything too busy in terms of the outline there, leaning very much into the same style as the first flintlock pistol I traced back in the day, where I want to give the characteristics of the pistol. I want to highlight the the profile and the recognizable pieces of the mechanism that makes it function. So you can see here, I actually turned the screw at the top, a little vise that holds the flintlock piece, the flint piece. I turned that into something entirely else, just because it looked better. So I'm not strictly adhering to what I'm actually seeing. I'm more leaning into the idea of these different recognizable profiles. How can I make them shine without it being too technical and too um, out there? Case in point, I'm making a little rod underneath, which wasn't actually on the original because it didn't come with one. So I imagine it would be kept in a separate place. There's no rod. What's the word? Like there was no hole drilled for the rod to be underneath the barrel, which is sometimes the case. So I could tell that it didn't need one. Anyway, moving on. Having made the outline, I'm trying to salvage this a bit because I was not feeling very good about this. But I started doing the planned part of adding some power strokes because that's what made the other project work so much better. It looked like almost like a calligraphy project with fancy brushes and everything, and I wanted to try the same thing here. Flat lines do not make for a good trace, so I did do a lot. I think I ended up doing power strokes on everything just to give it that calligraphic pen look, where someone swept in and made some long, delicate lines of text intermixed with the pistol. And this is where the magic came about. This is where it really started to grow into its own and went from this weirdly annoying, gangly, flat piece to something that really started to get some character and and started to look a lot more deliberate, and it started working together a lot better. So it's a type of situation where if I have the idea in my head, I need to see it through until I actually get to that point in the real life before I actually start judging my piece, because this is what I had envisioned. This is the idea I had in my mind, and it wasn't conveyed until I actually started using the power strokes. Now you can see there are some technical difficulties with this. I have a couple of places where the power stroke messes up with the actual thickness, and there is no, I mean, since there's no sudden turns and sharp twists, there is frankly no solution to this that I know of currently, besides making it into a complete path and then patching it up with some extra paths later. There is some error in how the power stroke nodes change thickness over distance that it can't handle when it comes to certain shapes and certain thicknesses and changes in thicknesses. So there's no, as far as I know, there's no good solution for that currently in version 1.2.2. I don't know if they fixed it in the newer version. I know they fixed one of the node bugs that has been plaguing me forever, but that's for the future. Anyway, I started to really get into the idea of different thicknesses to make it less uniform and a bit more organic, really. And at this point, I'm pretty much happy. This could be a finished piece right there. And in fact, I did save a black and white copy, as I usually do. But this is pretty much the finished piece in idea form here. So at this point, all that's left for me to do is touch it up a little bit, and then I can move on to the exciting thing, which is the color work. So after trying out some orientation, I decided to just keep it as is. And I need to fix the paths, as you can see there. The blunt quick solution is to just simply paint it over with another path and then unionizing them together to just create more geometry where the geometry is missing. And it won't pass scrutiny if you zoom really close in, but it'll work just fine for the Mac review. Now, I did not think this far in terms of my original idea. That was just the trace. This idea of gold on wood was a spur of the moment thing, and it turned into a little bit of a lesson on clip groups, because I'm really trying to get better at those. And I think I did get better after some trial and error off camera, but you're about to see some of my struggles here, because I couldn't figure out why it was not included in the clip group, even though it was inside the actual clip map, the structure of the folders in each layer. But turns out I was just too deep, apparently, for some reason. That probably warrants its own video one day, but for now I just made a wooden background, and I tried to be a little fancy by adding some snugly wiggly fancy corners, as you're about to see here. Just making some strokes, power strokes, and simple dots, and then mirroring that over onto the other side. Now I could do an actual mirror effect, but I was just lazy and just made a duplicate and placed it approximately, even though there are actual tools for mirroring. Didn't work out. It took up too much space, so I made another one, placed that in the corner, and then made that take shape, and then mirror that, or not mirror it, I just duplicated it again. I was lazy, but put that back in place. And at this point I was just trying to make the background look more fancy, so I had this idea of adding these corners just to add some flair, and then, well, you're about to see what happens next. Because I wanted to add a raised block of wood almost in between, to add a like sort of like you might see at one of those fancy a fancy sign in a hotel or something, where you have like this wooden block and it's gold outlined, and all sorts of bells and whistles. And I wanted to see if I could do something like that. So that's what you're seeing me do right here, trying to work out how I want the colors to be, because I want a little bit of depth in this without actually going to the trouble of making a 3D effect of a shadow and everything. Just trying to make some different different depths using nothing but different color tones. And at the end there, I just decided, why not? This looks like something that should be signed. So I just wrote my my little name there, and went through a couple of different fonts to see if there was one that felt right. It's not something I usually do, but I felt like this was almost like a like I said, a fancy sign of something that might sit outside a hotel room door somewhere, and I just plopped that in there, and I don't know. It feels almost like a museum piece or something. I don't know. I don't know what this is, frankly, but I like it, and I just made a little bit of adjustment on the color there, and At this point, I am pretty much done. I can't think of any more to add to this. I got to play with Darkifaerie, which is the second time I think I've done this, and I got to make another pistol, so, I'm all sorts of happy. So, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.